Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to Mechabellum. In today's video it's going to be another tournament run for me, and this took place last Wednesday as part of the Asia Mini Tournament. This was Advanced Group 1 of course, which means all my opponents are at least 2100 MMR and some of them even 2400, and up against Aimer in the first round. Now he decides to pick up Fortified Specialist with Sabers and Crawlers, and I'm going to go for Sledges and Marksman with a Farseer Specialist. Still one of the better specialists in the game in my opinion. And yeah, I've generally been having more success defending or playing standard, and so that tends to be what I gravitate towards in tournament settings like this. Going to set up in the middle, and yeah, I am expecting him to go aggro, specifically with those sabers. It's very common to do something like that, and I'll just have to see where he ends up. I'll purchase double arc lights because he has triple crawlers, and in my experience, sledgehammers just aren't really good enough to deal with that amount of crawlers, so I opted to go for the chaff clear first, and the sledgehammers here should be able to at least tank somewhat against the sabers. They can one-shot them, but they'll still have to take some time to get through the whole pack. And, well, we'll just have to see how this goes. Opponent sets up on the right side. Sadly, my sledgehammers here, part of them going to move towards that left tower, but they're not really fast enough to meaningfully threaten it, and my arc light just died instantly. So it looks like, despite us going for arc lights, we're not really going to be able to capitalize off of that. I think I probably should have put them more in the middle to guarantee that both of them would go to the correct side. So that would be a slight change, perhaps, if I know that I'm up against something like Saber, and it's very likely that my opponent plays aggressive. But not going to be able to achieve too much here. Marksman, not able to connect with anything. And, well, we'll take one Arclight as a consolation prize, but that'll be about it. And now, round number 2, immediately we have unit reinforcements. Fangs, Phantom Rays, Tarantulas, and Stormcallers. Tarantula, immediately I write off, because it's not good into Saber, and it's not good into Stormcaller either. Fangs, I would have liked them if they were level 1, but because they're level 2 and I have to pay for them, I really wasn't feeling it. That extra level is just going to feed my opponent's units, and yeah, it's not worth it for me. So I end up settling here for Phantom Ray. Stormcaller would have been an option too, but I felt like I was going to buy them later anyway, and with AP equipped, honestly, I don't need them to be level 2. And I'd rather try and kind of salvage the second round, because I now know where he is, but it's probably going to take me at least a round or two to kind of stabilize. So if I can grab a round by simply getting his tower, then that gets me a little bit closer to that mid game and getting closer to a setup that I'm comfortable with can defend against this push. So we're going to go for Phantom Ray with a Crawler in front on the left side. Seems like he tried to defend it somewhat, but I think with the Crawler we should be completely fine. And then I also put a Crawler on the middle of his right flank. I do this because I want to try and pull away as many units of his as possible, because that way the fight is going to be split up and I don't have to deal with all of his units all at once. And then later on we can beacon this Crawler pack upwards, and if he doesn't defend it correctly, it will pull away all of the Crawlers, and then we should be able to kill some of his bigger units, as they won't have as much chaff to protect them. Marksman will lock on, nice debuff, Phantom Ray also surviving and taking out his, so a very successful second round. And, well, we'll be able to even do a decent amount of damage there. Now, round number 3, Redeployment shows up. My opponent goes Advanced Power System, very good card for aggro. And I decided to go for Redeployment because I kind of felt like I wanted to keep my Phantom Rays if possible. So we're going to redeploy them and kind of put them further back so they're a bit safer. And I'll also be able to kind of move stuff around if I want to, like retrieve this Crawler, for instance, at some point, and even move stuff up and down the flank. Round number 3, another trick. On the defense, we're going to buy the Sticky Oil Bomb. That should slow him down for 2 turns, and again, you can see the trend, right? I'm trying to make him commit some resources on the left side, first of all, so that he doesn't have a super strong right side army. And then I'm also trying to kind of stall, right? So that I get time to set up, because he put all of his units on the right side, and mine are like kind of in the middle, but I need some rounds to get some deployments on my right side as well to accurately defend. Now, round number 3, he decides to go for Replicate Crawler, which is a rather aggressive move. Very early to pick it too. Now, he will be able to get all my crawlers off the flank and replicate off of them. I didn't have money to go for a mobile beacon. But I was rather surprised about this because I feel like Replicate Crawler is not something that tends to do too well when bought this early. Because now I can just, you know, buy more chaff clear. And honestly, I already have a fair amount of crawler, or of arc lights, sorry. So I felt like I would be completely fine. Sadly, it seems like my phantoms lost as there were crawlers in the way. And now my marksmen are going to go down with the sabers farming them up and even managing to grab some levels. That is not looking good. And we lose our oil round. That is not ideal. Round number 4, Efficient Light Manufacturing show up. I really do like this card a lot. And I will pick it. To me, it's kind of similar to something like Super Supply. Very good when it shows up on round 4. And even better if you manage to get that additional deployment slot later on. Opponent, though, skips it and goes for even more aggressive plays, opting to take that Rhino Assault. And I have some units down there to stall, but it does look a little sketchy. Now you can see the beacon coming out. I don't really care about this crawler. He won't be able to intercept all of them, and they'll still chase all of these dudes, well, to the end of the beacon pretty much. I think pulling them away is still going to be worth it. More arc lights picked up. Trying to deal with the flanks, making sure that I don't lose my tower here, although this Rhino might be able to get in. We'll have to see. I also pick up a Stormcaller because I did want to try and get into something like AP Storm. My opponent does have the Missile Interceptor, though, equipped. And that is a little scary, but he clicks Side Armament, so that makes the second tech a little bit more expensive and maybe worth it to just click AP to kind of force him to do something. Marksman will do just fine. I have my Farseer here on the left. Sadly, it's not on the right side to deal with the Rhino. And yeah, that guy will get into my tower and debuff me for 9 seconds. And while it was looking kind of alright, there's still a ton of crawlers left, and this Sabertooth is awfully tanky if I don't have any Stormcallers left. Marksman gonna try and do what it can, but probably will get overrun by these crawlers, depending on what this Arclight decides to do. It will help out, but there's just so many of them, and, well, as the Saber gets close, gonna take out that Arclight, gonna take out my Farseer, and we lose another round. We get immediate second rotation of unit reinforcements here on round 5. Triple Phoenix shows up, and the main thing I'm lacking here, honestly, is DPS, so I decided to go for Phoenix as well. I could have maybe considered Void Eyes, but I'm currently not running range. If I had range, maybe I would go range and shard shots, because they have an awful lot of DPS. At the same time, they are ground-based, so they could get targeted by the secondary armaments or something like that. And so I just decided to go for Phoenixes instead, because it also helps out against the enemy Phoenixes, which he was likely to pick. Just kind of going to spread them in an even fashion. I've got the Farseer and the Phantom on the left side to cover somewhat, so kind of prioritizing the right side more than anything. And yeah, opponent now beaconing some of these units forwards, making sure that he doesn't pull everything away. I decided to put an arc light in the top corner because I wanted to try and at least chaff clear a little bit if I could, and prevent, well, the late crawlers from being too numerous. And now, round number 5, we also pick up another Stormcaller and click that AP button for 100. Mind you that he doesn't have any chaff in front, so I probably can get insta-locks to happen. And we also get range on the arc lights to help out with the chaff clearing. The one risky thing about this is I might lock onto the sabers, meaning that these crawlers just get in without being cleared. At the same time, it also keeps them safe from the sabers, and it creates a little bit of spacing between them, so I think it's fine to pick up. Looks like we're doing completely okay. Left side, struggling a bit more, and yeah, I was mentioning that Arclight lock-on, but there it happened. Sadly, Arclight stuck on one of the sabers, and that makes it a lot harder for my Phoenixes and Phantoms and Farseer to do what it needs to do. Farseer almost clears the Saber. Was able to splash one of the salvos, but it seems like didn't feel like doing that again. And we are going to lose another round, and it's starting to get a bit tricky here. Opponents with a lot of momentum behind them. They've got that speed, that they click temp speed, and you can see those sabers are moving in very fast. Now, round number 6, nothing special shows up. I don't need another redeployment. I already have one of those, and I haven't really made use of it that much, I have to say. And round number 6, I decide that, okay, the AP Storms are nice, but I need something other than that. And I decide to go range and charge shot immediately on my Phoenixes. Expensive turn, and I think I was only able to grab, some chaff. There's a Fang here. And Stormcaller, I believe, yeah. I'm pretty happy I did that, because if you look at the other side, the opponent did end up clicking Missile Interceptor. So it's a good thing that I did diversify the DPS, because if this got intercepted and I'd lost my Storms, without the Charge Shot Phoenix, I really wouldn't have too much to take down the Sabers, which are starting to get very menacing. Lots of level 2s, and that speed makes them even more terrifying. But you can see Charge Shot is a very good tech for a reason, and already we're starting to take down some of these Sabers. Arc Lights this time around not getting stuck, very happy about that. Able to chaff clear most of the chaff. Some late crawlers are going to arrive, but we still have an Arc Light, multiples of those even. And will we be able to win? I mean, it still doesn't look like it. The left side collapsing still. And while my Phoenixes are trying their very best, we're only going to be able to trade away a few of these enemy units. And 1,254 hit points. That looks sketchy. But we are going to survive on 35 hit points. But now any type of cheese attempt from my opponent, and I mean, I lose. Like, he only needs to keep alive like a couple wasp packs or some chaff, and that's it. End of story. So we can't lose any more rounds. Lucky for us, we do get Sticky Oil back off cooldown. Opponent goes for an underground threat. And that is kind of the one thing that I have to look at here. Probably should go for it myself. At the same time, that would mean that I need to tech it, because I don't want his crawlers to replicate off of mine, and well, he does have a tech available. Opponent decides to go for Mustangs now, as a response to the Phoenixes, I presume. I didn't see how much money they had, but feels like they perhaps could have gone for something like a factory cheese. I decided to sell out of my Storms because they weren't really doing too much with that Missile Interceptor equipped, and I do have the Charge Shot now. We pick up the levels on the Phoenixes. We double tech our own crawlers with Replicate and Impact Drill to try and win against his board. Temp speed being clicked. We are loaning, of course. And trying to oil that right side. Going to buy more level 2 crawlers to fortify the back of my board. And I was trying to also play around the fact that his chaff clear is not amazing right now. He has some arc lights, but they're all unranged. And level 1 does not one-shot level 2 crawlers. And Mustangs are definitely not known to be all too powerful against crawlers. You can see them getting stuck there. And yeah, crawlers moving in with the temp speed. They're going to replicate, and they might even get to tower. Managed to grab ourselves a debuff, so it seems like we've managed to hold on for at least one more round. Phoenixes able to connect. Arc lights will happily chew through those Mustangs. And yeah, I don't think he went for the most powerful play there. I think he probably could have tried to go for factory. Maybe he could have tried to double tech his own crawlers and go for a similar play. But, well, we managed to strike back, and suddenly opponent is within like one round of losing. Round number 8, heavy armor shows up. That's an easy and quick pickup for my opponent. We'll just chug that onto a high level saber. And for me, nothing here really looks that good. I don't have that many tanky units, so the heavy armor seems a bit wasted. And currently not planning to buy any giants. That could have been an idea though. Well, not efficient giant manufacturing, but I could have tried to play an Abyss, I think. Abyss into his board should do decently well. He does have some Phoenixes, but they're low level and unranged. And the level 1 Mustang certainly wouldn't be able to kill it, so that wouldn't have been a bad idea, even though it's a little bit uncommon on defense, I'd say. Arclight levels getting picked up. Opponent goes for AA on the Mustangs now as well, really trying to punish those Phoenixes, which is possible. They are somewhat low range compared to the rest of the board because of that charge shot. But if you can't shaft clear, then you'll be in a world of hurt. And right now, I think he's underestimating the power of my crawlers. I decide to redeploy a crawler backwards here because I'm expecting him to missile it, and then I replace it with a new crawler on the line. So this one will tank the missile that I'm expecting, and then this pack hopefully can start cleaning up those crawlers. Oh, he moves them backwards though, away from that flank. And the Rhino is going to get dropped right on top of my Arclight. Still, I think this crawler pack here does a decent job of stalling. And that missile doesn't amount to much. Phoenixes seem to have locked onto some of the correct targets. Now going to turn their attention to this level 3 Saber with the heavy armor. And, I mean, you almost don't notice that it does have that heavy armor because it melts like butter. And now we've managed to get rid of all of the enemy Sabers. Right side looks very comfortable. Left side, a little bit trickier, but the Farseer is pulling its own weight. And the Arclights will finish the job. It's not quite over yet, though. 183, so it's going to come down to this final round, round number 9. Another efficient light manufacturing shows up. If it turned up earlier, maybe I would have picked it, but this is a bit late. We know that it's only going to last one more round. Rhino Assault, probably worth picking here, even though it's likely not going to be too much. It's a relatively cheap card, and the Rhino Assault could be somewhat annoying. Opponent decides to skip it though. Wonder what he has in mind. Looks like, again, we get the beacon forwards, levels some of the Mustangs that had a level available. And if we were to pick the Rhino Assault, could drop it in the back here. Opponent does missile my crawlers again. But we might be able to kind of annoy him a lot. Look at that though, so many missiles in the back. And I am going to pick up the Rhino Assault and just drop it on top of the Phoenixes. That way I'll kill them, and if I'm lucky, might even be able to get a tower debuff. Opponent goes underground on his crawlers, which I was a bit surprised about. Keep in mind I have clicked both attack enhancement and defense enhancement too, since my board is does have a few small units, especially the Arclights really do benefit from this, and the crawlers really benefit from the defense enhancement. And so I think they shouldn't care about this underground on the crawlers. Yeah, at least the level 3s will be capable of killing these level 2 underground crawlers. Double shot on the marksman now. I mean, they were high level, and I kind of wanted to make them somewhat useful. And we also go EMP on the Arclights to try and shut down the techs on these Sabers. That way, some of our missiles might be able to get through. And it's not too bad if he went for something like an Arclight tech. Rhino does get in. Arclight did die, but we might be able to get a tower debuff here, although I don't know if it matters. Marksman locked onto that Saber. Double shot definitely helping a bit. And Rhino just about surviving. He's getting awfully close to my tower, but the level 2 Farseer is doing a good job of tanking. We get the debuff. And looks like we've managed to weather the storm in what was a very, very close first game here against Aimer. I was lucky enough to survive, and then, well, we closed it out by just playing a solid board. I feel like he probably could have ended the game by going for a factory on the turn that he went for these Mustangs. Typically, whenever your opponent is very low on hit points and has a board like this with mostly small units, then the Titans start to become a very good option to close things out. But he didn't go for it. And yeah, after that, we kind of managed to outpace him here with the double crawler techs, some sneaky flank plays, and also, yeah, the double tower enhancements for our arc-lights and crawlers. That means that we do proceed to game number 2. And here we are. Game number 2 up against Cheese. Now, Cheese is an avid Rhino Wasp player. Really, really loves that comp. So I kind of did know what I was going to be facing going into this game. Again, I will probably want to play defensive here. So either the Sabertooth pack there with the Void Eyes or the training spec with the Marksman and the Sledgehammers looked good to me. Looks like we went for the Sledgehammers and Marksman instead. An opponent here is a Rhino Specialist. Starts with Sabers and Arclights once more. Probably going to want to play in the middle again. And into that board of his, I could either go double Fang, or again I could buy some Arclights. I know that he can only have 2 crawler packs, which I feel like my Sledgehammers should be able to deal with. At the same time, he has triple Arclight, so I'm not convinced that buying Chaff will be that useful here. He decides to set up in the middle, which is slightly unconventional, I would say. The setup that we saw last game would be something that I would expect a bit more. I'm going to go for Fangs instead. I think this is the better option against this board, because the Crawlers will just run ahead of my army and die to the Arclights. The Fangs will also die eventually, but they're a bit slower, so they can stay next to my army and, well, be useful at the exact right time when the engagement happens. Also going to level my middle Marksman, and it's in a good position considering the way that my opponent placed his units. And let's see. Crawler splitting up is definitely a good thing for me. Arclight's going to perish in the middle there, gets one shot by that level 2 Marksman, and yeah, as you can see, the Fangs and the Sledgehammers together, completely fine against those Crawlers. It is a good thing they did split it up though. Only having 1 Crawler pack on each side to deal with is a lot easier than them stacking up. And so we win the first round, which I'm pretty happy with. Now round number 2. Mobile Beacon, Underground Threat show up. Underground Threat, probably something I just have to pick here. I feel like these call-in spells, the Wasps, the Rhino, the Underground Threat, are so powerful that you almost have to pick them. They're very hard to deal with, and they will often yield a debuff. Opponent does pick it. Places some more Crawlers on his board. And, well, I pick it up as well. Decide to put it all the way in the top left here. Hoping to get a tower debuff myself. And then I'll likely just want to go triple Crawler in the back to try and stall an offensive Underground Threat. An aggressive Underground Threat from my opponent. Opponent does add Fangs as well, though, in the back. Not sure that I'll be able to beat this at this stage, but maybe the Crawlers here will just run far forward. Part of them do turn, but this is 1.5 packs of Crawlers. Maybe we can get in. I am getting stalled an awful lot here, though. Maybe I should have just used it defensively. My middle Marksman is going to go down, and sadly, that's the high level one. While it looks like I have managed to stall, I'm not going to get debuffed. I don't have that many units left. I do get the debuff myself, though. Maybe the Marksman can get some good locks. It's all going to come down to how these Crawlers perform during the debuff. If we can kill the Arclights, then I'll be very happy. Marksman will lock onto the Saber, and as it gets distracted, I feel like we are in with a good chance. Arclight will take down my Marksman, but I have 1 remaining. And so, well, we do win, if only by 1 Marksman. Round number 3, and we get unit reinforcements here. Opponent decides to go for the Phoenixes, and for me, I mean, almost anything here is playable, really. I already have marksmen, so I don't necessarily need phoenixes. I could go Void Eyes if I want to try and just add more DPS to the board. Could go Vulcan as well, though, as I currently don't really have any chaff gear. I didn't buy Arclights, and Sledgehammers aren't enough by themselves, so maybe it's just good to pick this up and say, well, this way at least I'll have some chaff gear, and I can try and buy maybe more chaff or more anti-air, whatever I want. Yeah, we pick up that Vulcan. Could even try to intensive training it, to be honest, and make a level 2 Vulcan. Other option would be to simply buy another one and then buy some chaff. Looks like we're gonna go for the crawler approach instead. Oh, I buy another Arclight on the right side to try and at least stall this chaff. And then I realize, oh, I have only 150 left. That's a bit awkward. I really want to get the level. So we undo. And we just settle for one crawler, one Arclight. So that we do have the money to get a level 2 Vulcan. This just felt like it had so much tempo. Very hard to deal with a level 2 giant like this. 71,000 hit points on round 3. That it was worth doing. And I can probably go without that one crawler. We can delay it. Arclight right side doing a great job. Happy I picked that up. That's going to just do a fantastic job of clearing the chaff. And then, well, left side, the Vulcan, of course, doing even better. Marksman in the middle, gonna take down that Arclight. Saber going to fall, and we're gonna have plenty of marksmen left alive to get rid of those phoenixes. So, lovely round. And yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident about my chances here. This is round 4 though, and round 4 means that he will get access to that level 2 Rhino, and currently I am somewhat vulnerable to it. Quick teleport is available, shield airdrop as well. Opponent goes for that quick teleport. I decided to pick up the shield airdrop instead. And yeah, here we go. So this is the Rhino Wasp turn. And he decides to put it all on my flank. Now I wasn't necessarily expecting this. At least not on my flank. I do know a Rhino is coming. And I know that he really likes to play Rhino Wasp. And so I believe here I kind of prioritized dealing with the Wasps rather than the Rhino. I wanted to see where the Rhino would show up. Instead of kind of preemptively, yeah, putting like steel balls everywhere. And yeah, you will see me buy some Mustangs and put them on the outsides in the back so they're safe. They arrive a bit late and they also cover the flanks to a certain extent. But I don't think they'll be too happy about this level 2 Rhino spawning in. Round number 4, we also decided to make use of the sticky oil bomb. I level my marksman where possible. I felt like with the level 2s and the level 3s, we should have an okay amount of damage. Even against something like a level 2 Rhino. But yeah, that is a very big flank and a lot of wasps showing up at once. Looks like the Rhino will fall. The Vulcan turned and it doesn't have armor. So it will go down. Sadly, the Vulcan turns after dealing with that ground unit. And it doesn't really protect my Mustang. So seems like we are going to lose, sadly, and we're also going to lose our shield in the process. A good tempo round, but now, at least, we know what we're up against. Round number 5. And we get Ion Blast Haste Module, Mustang Production Line. Now, here's my thought process. I'm thinking, okay, I need to deal with the Rhino. So I probably need to buy steel balls. And what is going to be my Wasp response? Because it could be something like Mustang, but I feel like he's going to invest a lot on the flank, add crawlers, that type of thing. And I might just want to go for Wraith instead. If I want to go for Wraith, then I probably don't want to keep my Vulcan in the long term, because I don't want to stack a 300 cost shaft unit with a 400 cost one. And so I decided not to pick up the Mustang production line, which I would normally put on the Giants, because I'm already thinking I don't think I want to be buying more giants here. I think I want to go into Wraith. I can't do that in one round, though. I have to get some steel balls first, as the Rhino is a problem. It even gets armored. And yeah, here we go. More crawlers getting added to the flank. I decide to immediately go for ranged steel balls. That way we should be safe. I put a crawler on the flank. It's just a good thing to do, right? Opponent hasn't added any chaff clear on the flank as of now. So putting chaff there to distract should be really useful. I decide to level up my Mustang and give it that haste module. And this is looking kind of fine. Steel balls are tanking, Mustangs with the level and the item are able to get through the wasps much more easily. And even though those wasps have range, it doesn't seem like they're doing too well. They will take out my Mustangs, I want to say that, but they're actually getting stuck on my Vulcan instead. And so that is a lovely round. Right side losing, although that level 3 marksman tanky enough to take a shot from the Phoenix. And we are going to stabilize immediately and win a round. And I still have my Vulcan around, so going to be a decent amount of damage. Round number 6, will it beat 3 units? It will be. Not really anything I was looking for, though. Could pick up the Farseer if I want to. That might be the most useful, but I don't think Farseer clears wasps fast enough to deal with a flank this big. And so I'm thinking, alright, well, maybe we just go for the most deployments here, the Quad Hound. It's not going to be too bad if we face it in front of this flank to deal with the crawlers. And then it just adds more bodies to the field that my opponent has to get through before he will get to my more important units. Opponent unlocking Wraith, adding it to the flank. Farseer getting added to. Replicate and drill on the crawler is very aggressive here. And I decide to sell out of my Vulcan, because as I said, I wanted to get into Wraith. And that allows me to retrieve 600 resources. We level our steel balls. We add the hounds to the left flank. We also add them somewhat to the right flank here, both to screen against an attack from the front lines and an attack on the right flank. And now we buy 2 level 2 Wraith and we immediately range them. Wraith, I think, is one of the best flank defenders in the game. It is very, very good because it can't get stuck. Unlike most other units, it will always try and find new targets to shoot at, and that makes it super valuable against flanks. It also has access to things like Degen Beam, although I'm not running it at the moment, but very hard to counter that when you're on the flank. And honestly, Wraith is pretty good into Wasp as well. As long as you're kind of up a level or at the same level, and you're able to keep stuff in front of the Wraith. So yeah, left side this time around, again, doing really well. I will get debuffed, but, well, I added another Wraith on the right side to try and preempt a secondary attack. But yeah, that won pretty convincingly. And even though there are some Phoenixes left, I don't think they'll be able to do too much against this level 2 donut. So we will get another round. The 2 Wraith survive, and now opponent's getting down to 1600 hit points. Round number 7, Nuke shows up, redeployment as well, and a Rhino Assault. Don't think Nuke is that valuable here. I mean, I could try and throw it onto his main army, but didn't feel like I was really struggling to kill it. Redeploy could be alright, although I don't really know where I would redeploy to. So maybe it's the Rhino Assault here. Could try and just throw that on top of some of his flank units. Alternatively, if I think a skip is completely fine as well. And I think here I'd already be looking towards something like Floating Artillery Array. Oh, I take the redeployment instead to move my Wraith onto the left side. And we do click the Floating Artillery Array, doubling the amount of guns on the Wraith. And the reason that I move here is because it's very unlikely that he will put stuff on the right flank, because he could see that there was a level 2 Wraith already, and he would have to build that flank from scratch. So I should be safe for at least one round here to kind of abandon that side and reinforce the left. We have access to our shield airdrop again. We intensive training the Wraith, so it's now level 3. Opponent tries to degen beam and also tries to attack us here from the front with that Rhino and Wasp pack. And he goes for AA on the Wasp. So that is kind of the correct way to try and deal with the Wraith, but I'm not convinced that he'll be able to do too much if I add enough chaff clear units, or enough chaff rather, in front of my Wraith. And you can see we added some more fangs, we've got some late crawlers moving in, and that means that the Wasps really aren't connecting, despite having that prioritized targeting. Steel balls with the range, also able to take down that Rhino. Doesn't look like the crawlers are able to do too much, and even though this is the level 1 tower, he doesn't really manage to get close. Or well, he gets close, but he doesn't manage to take it out. And yeah, Wraith will prevail, and I feel like the flank has been completely dealt with at this point. There's no way for him to salvage that. He doesn't have any room left. And yeah, I mean, we have properly outscaled. So now that round number 8 swings by, and we have more unit reinforcements, the only thing really that would allow him to win is if he attacks my weak side or he manages to get a debuff. Now, he already tried it on the left side. It didn't really work. We pick up the sandworms to just add more bodies to that flank. And yeah, more things for my opponent to chew through, because he doesn't really have that much ground damage. We use the oil to try and deal with the left side. We level the tower even. And now the only thing that's left really is for him to try and attack my right side. That is the only thing that I think can keep him in this game. And so we should try and defend that as best we can. I would imagine that if he tries something, then it's either going to look like Sandworm with Wasp and Rhino, or just Rhino and Wasp, something along those lines. So I would like to buy maybe a level 2 Wraith and a level 2 Ball. Yep, there we go. We already have some Hounds there, some Chaff, some Mustangs. So adding those two should be completely fine. And yeah, as you can see, it is going to be a Rhino and Wasp attack. We put some missiles down as well. We are loaning here, temp range, very important for the Wraith. And opponent trying to go for power armor so he doesn't get slowed by anything. That is going to be useful against the missiles and the oil. But with the addition of those steel balls, I feel like we should be completely fine. Goes for an oil play as well, but there's no fire in this game, so not going to do too much. And yeah, I mean, the left side, you can just see completely collapsing there. And the right side, not going to amount to very much for him. And with the sandworm still alive and, well, the donuts absolutely crushing everything in their path, that will be a second victory here in the tournament. And it means that we move through to the semi-finals. Now here we are, game number 3, which is going to be against Nightcrawler, who is also a streamer, and is currently sitting at around, I think at the time, 2400 MMR. Has been really, really solid lately, so this is where the real powerful opponents start to be versing us. Again, Sledgehammer Arclight opener, and my opponent going for Tarantulas with Fangs. Opts to go double crawler on round 1, and is a speed specialist. So it does have a nice pack for playing aggro with, but as I said before, I feel like spiders have been struggling a bit. And by a bit, I mean a lot, against early AP storms. So when I see this, immediately my mind goes, okay, I'm gonna try and get some storms somewhat early here. Again, we're going to forfeit going for Chaff on round 1 because I felt like I needed some DPS. I don't trust Sledgehammers and Arclights to be able to clear spiders. And I think the spiders, if he doesn't buy any DPS, should get stuck for some time at least onto these Sledgehammers. And yeah, with triple Arclight, we're going to be completely fine against the 5 Chaff. Marksman will lock the spiders, and that looks like it should be a fine first round. We're even managing to keep a few sledges alive, so fair bit of damage coming through here, about 600. Now, round number 2, what do we get? not unit reinforcements, but there is a wasp swarm and a rhino assault available. Quick teleport again as well. Redeployment. I mean, lots and lots of aggressive options. And again here, I feel like you have to pick one of the call-ins because, well, the back of my board is looking awfully empty. I decided to go for the rhino because I felt like it was harder to kill than something like the wasps. Opponent goes for the wasps, however, as I don't really have any solid anti-air, and I do decide to pick up some fangs. Looks like we're going to be putting those behind the towers. It's not enough to deal with the wasp, mind you. But it might be able to stall for at least a little while. Opponent goes for a phoenix on round 2. Add some more chaff to the board as well. And I decided to put this fang all the way up front because I wanted to try and funnel these crawlers towards my middle arclight rather than them splitting up and kind of going all over the place. Let's see though. Will we get debuffed on a very bad time? Marksmen are locked onto the spiders. Can we take it down before our tower falls? We will take down one. Marksman turns. I think he should be able to one-shot wasps. I guess I'm wrong about that. Maybe it is the phoenixes that we're able to. And looks like we are actually going to be losing out here, so making the wrong decision, sadly, about that call-in. Maybe I should have gone for the wasp myself. It's not a massive loss, though, and the phoenixes at least don't level, so kind of fine. We managed to get some chaff onto the board. Now, round number 3, another call-in shows up. Extended range arclight, not really something I'd be looking for. I feel that card is only good if you're able to get some early levels on your arcs. Otherwise, you have some very awkward break points against enemy crawlers. And I decided to go for the call-in instead. Opponent picks up the laser sight, throws it on top of one of his spiders, and yeah, here we go. I decided to pick up an immediate double Stormcaller, and then we put 2 missiles in the corners, try and deal with whatever the opponent might throw at us. And that's going to look like 2 tarantulas in the flanks. Now, they do tank the missiles, but I don't think they'll be able to get to the tower anytime soon. And that means we'll just be able to crush down the middle and, well, deal with those spiders a bit later. Stormcaller's going to turn, are going to lock, get double debuffed, but looks like we should be able to take down those spiders. As, is this going to get the marksman? It's not. That's very nice. Would have gotten a lot of experience from that. And now, round number 4, we get unit reinforcements right away. Phantom Ray picked up for my opponent, and I decided to pick up the rhinos because, well, they're really good at defending the flanks. Gotta throw those right in front of the spiders, and look at these. Again, a game with lots of big flanks incoming. I decided to put a Typhoon here to kind of screen against this right side. I was expecting him to put down a Crawler. Not necessarily that he would put down a Phantom as well, though. But the Typhoon might be able to help out against this Phantom pack. We see a missile come out to try and deal with my sledgehammers. And what else do we want here? I guess more chaff does make a lot of sense. Yeah, we're going to try and kind of cover the diagonals because they were still quite open. And my opponent also could have gone for Rhino or even Phantom Ray and tried to like beacon into this side. So that's why we go for that. Oil picked up as well. Going to try and put that onto the right side of the board. And the reason I do this, even though this side is empty, is to kind of force him to play on the left side next turn, right? It's not going to be easy for him to put new units over here because of the oil sticking around. Gonna put an Arclight here on the left as well to try and help out against a potential Crawler, which does end up showing up. And the Rhino is not quite going to be able to kill that Tarantula. That's very unfortunate because it means the Tarantula is now going to kill all my fangs with that range my opponent picked up. If the fangs survived, or if the tarantula died rather, I think the phantoms would have gone down to those 2 fang packs. Instead, I get debuffed. And it's going to be a much, much closer round. 9 seconds. Marksman dying. Phoenix still alive. It's not looking too great. And this level 2 marksman, while it has now turned, it's not going to have the damage to take down those phantoms quick enough. Can the Typhoon deliver? Gonna try its best. I still have some fangs left as well, so I think we do win, but it's an awfully close round. About as close as it gets. Now, round number 5, both of us instantly pick up the heavy armor there. Opponent levels the spiders where possible. I decide to throw this onto one of my rhinos. He throws it on top of his level 2 spider there on the flank. And now I'm thinking, okay, this doesn't look too bad. Just have to deal with the phantoms, really. And I decide to go replicate Crawler because the spiders are going to be locked on my rhino. And because the phantoms are slightly offset rather than right behind, they're going to be shooting at this Crawler that I picked up. So this way I'm kind of trying to make sure that he shoots at the wrong units, right? Where the phantoms are DPS, they would like to shoot at the rhino, but they're going to be shooting at the crawlers, and the spider would like to shoot at the crawlers, but it's going to be shooting at the rhino. We also pick up a wasp pack here on the left, because I think wasps are great at defending flanks, and they're very, very good against phantoms. Might see myself picking up aerial specialization here at some point. And I'm going to leave the Typhoon where it is, because I felt like it was doing a good job. And yeah, you can see here the spider is locked on. And even though one phantom seems to have found the rhino, the Typhoons get a lot of uptime. They should be able to take this down. My right side tower, though, is under a lot of pressure. And while the wasps are able to finish off that left flank, I am going to get debuffed again. And that's going to be a lot of spiders surviving all of a sudden. Another pretty bad debuff timer there. Storms are trying to do what they can. Wasps trying to do the same thing, but sadly, there's still one Phoenix left alive. It doesn't look like we'll be able to clear anything else. So we're going to be taking 900 damage this round. And my opponent gets to scale the tarantulas a bit more, which is always a little scary. Round number 6. Unit reinforcements show up. And I decided to pick up the Melter, because it was the most solid against all that was offered. Really good against the Raiden, really good against the Wraith, and, well, the Hounds. They were fine, but I felt like I didn't really have any chaff gear problems. And we're going to be facing that Melter right in front of this Spider, because it's level 2, so it has 71,000 hit points, and it's not that easy for a Spider to take down a Melter. So that kind of covers this right side, which was getting quite heavily attacked. He picks up a Raiden. Decided to level up my Typhoon because it was doing pretty well. And I also level up my Wasps. He decides to Wasp my backline here. I'll have to see how that performs. I pick up the armor on my Rhinos. I was kind of considering picking up Whirlwind instead to try and get rid of the crawlers as fast as possible, but felt like with the Replicate we'd be completely fine. Pick up another Melter here. Might throw that here all the way onto the left side. We do, since we were getting attacked over there as well. And then the Rhino is going to Goomba Stomp this Tarantula. Opponent goes for HE on the Phantom Rays, which is rather unusual tech. Did get buffed recently, but don't think it's that good. Also goes for the Spider Mines, which will soften up the Rhino a little bit, but with the low levels, it's really not going to be enough. And as we added more Arclights to the board, they're going to be able to chaff clear for this Melter. And now the Melter gets to have a good time locking onto the Spiders, taking them down. Left side's been dealt with. That Wasp spawn in, not really doing too much. And yeah, Melter here doing absolutely fantastic against the Raiden. And I was thinking, well, multi-melt could be very good defensively. But considering he picked Raiden, he has access to potential EMP, and honestly, I think the Melter is doing completely fine in and of itself. I think I was already in a decent spot with the defense I had going on, but I think I'll just keep the Melter without any techs, so that way EMP is not really a problem. This round we get oil and fire showing up. I think I decided to pick up another wasp swarm, so we have 2 of those coming in. And that is a lot of fire right there on top of my units. And first I tried to use them offensively, but I kind of changed my thoughts. I go AA on the wasp and I decide to throw them onto my own flanks. An opponent goes for range EMP on the Raidens. Now I did kind of expect this as an option, but I didn't expect it this early. Kind of thought that he would wait for me to go range and defract, but yeah, he is kind of scarily low on hit points, so he probably had to make a gamble here. Both of us are loaning, temp range, temp speed, clicked for my opponent. And will we play around the fire? It was offered. Not sure how much it does. Both of my towers are leveled. It would kind of be painful to lose all of these units. Add more wasps. Wasp in general here, very good against the phantoms as mentioned, also very good against the Raiden. We're going to go temp range. Add another crawler to the board. And then we pick up the second defense enhancement. So we didn't do anything about the fire, which means our board here will be burning. And, well, losing the storms is not going to be ideal against the spiders. EMP, though, not doing too much. And our outsides seem to be doing kind of fine. Melter, I think, will fall, although I say that. Survives on a sliver of hit points, but will walk into the fire and probably die. And yep, there it goes. Spider Mines, though, not able to make it to the tower. It looks like we do win, even though our entire board got set on fire. Is it going to be enough to close out the game, though? I feel like it might not be. We needed like 1200. Yeah, that's not quite going to be enough. 165 is what was left. Definitely could have won there, I think, if I shielded, but still, things are looking quite fine. Round number 8, Sabretooth, Overlord, Farseer, and Scorpion are offered. And Sabretooth looks the scariest here, I would have to say. Opponent could pick up the Farseer, but again, Farseer isn't like that good at dealing with Wasp. It can deal with like some straggler packs, but if there's a lot of them, they often will take too long to efficiently clear them. Especially when the Wasps are sitting behind other units because they've got techs like range or AA. I believe we go for the Saber too. We do. We're just going to throw that in front of one of the tarantulas here. So this is going to take out a spider, and then at the same time it's going to tank this Raiden forever because, well, Raidens are good against mid-sized units and they can scale into a very scary late-game carry. Right now, at level 1 and level 2, they're not really made to kill these bigger units, right? The level 3 Melting Point with 135k hit points, the Saber with 157k. Just not ideal. Keep in mind, I am using a lot of missiles here to try and kind of clear the way. Get rid of any crawlers, make sure the Melter locks on. Saber going to be spawned into the flank, but we might be able to kill that. And I believe we just add a bit more chaff to the board here, trying to protect our melters where possible. Also going to use some oil in the middle, just slowing my opponent down. And, well, yeah, the melter does lock onto that Saber, even though it tanks a shot. It's more than capable of doing that. And meantime, this Sabretooth on the left is just, well, not having the best time shooting at chaff, but at the same time it's not really going down either, just getting tickled by the Raiden. And with the Melter still alive, I think we should be completely fine here, taking down this final Raiden. We also have a fair bit of Wasps left, so they should have been able to close things out, and that will be game number 3, sending us into the finals. We've had a lot of aggressive games so far, with a couple of very big flanks having to deal with that, and yeah, kind of showcasing here how best to deal with it. You can use Rhinos, you can use Wasp, you saw Wraith used in the previous game, you can use your own crawlers sometimes, and kind of try to pick apart the opponent's positioning so that his units shoot at the wrong targets. And yeah, you can also use missiles, of course. But a good game here. Let's go to the finals. And here we are. What it all boiled down to. The final game, game number 4 against the Mathis Might. A very strong 501 player, always sitting at about 2.3, 2.4k MMR. And looks like we might get a long-range game here, as opponent goes for Hounds and Stormcallers. I decide to pick up Steel Balls and Crawlers with a Marksman Specialist, and even though Steel Balls usually are expected to be played aggressively, I kind of like this pack when I know my opponent is going to be playing defensively as well. Now, I didn't know that. Mathis Might is very capable of playing aggressive, but once I saw the Stormcallers, I knew, okay, I can play standard into this. And then what I like to do is stack both Steel Balls on the same side, because that will make it much, much harder for him to take them both down, right? You might get a bit unlucky if you have only one pack and the Stormcallers hit them just right. And if that happens symmetrically on both sides, then you might not win. But if you stack all of the Steel Balls, they probably will get a debuff. And it's completely fine to play asymmetrically here in standard, right? He has slow units. He added Fangs. The Hounds are not the fastest. The Stormcallers certainly aren't. And that means this Arclight can probably stall for long enough to where my Steel Balls will be able to get into his tower, because the Steel Balls move at 60 meters a second. Storm's here going to hit a couple of stray bullets, stray rockets, I guess, into my Arclights, but it's going to do a fine job of stalling a little bit, and in the meantime, my Steel Balls are getting awfully close to my opponent's tower. We've now managed to lock onto the Stormcallers. We can take them down and hopefully keep our Arclight. Okay, we can't, but there aren't too many Fangs left, so should be fine. Steel Balls are going to take the tower debuff, and now we get a very nice split up there. Some Steel Balls going for the Stormcallers, some of them going for the tower debuff. And that should be round 1 over with. There's quite a few Hounds left. It's going to take a while, but they're not known for their DPS, so I think that the Steel Balls should win out. And there we go. Are we even going to be able to pick up a level here? We are. That is best case scenario. And we immediately get unit reinforcements as well here on round 2. Now, I get a Marksman, keep in mind, because I'm Marksman Specialist. So I decided to pick up the Wasp instead because it's diversifying my board the most, and it requires a very specific response from my opponent. He goes for Marksman, but that will get annoyed quite a bit by this Wasp. We pick up the level on the Steel Ball, and then we still have enough money to grab some more chaff. And even a mobile beacon. Double Crawler here. One in the middle to try and distract some Stormcallers. And potentially pull them more towards the center rather than into my tower. And then the other Crawler we're going to put on our strong side to help out our Steel Balls and our Wasp. Another Marksman is going to get picked up. Another Fang as well there for my opponent. So he does have some units that are okay into Wasp, but Fangs alone are often a little bit tricky because, well, they might just die and they can get stuck on other things. They're not really made to quickly dispatch of Wasps. And yeah, I mean, this looks absolutely perfect. Does have a level 3 Marksman, but level 2 Steel Balls still very hard to take down. Looks like we should be able to push in. Manages to get rid of a fair amount of my units though, but here we go. Tower debuff coming through. Wasps still alive. And that's going to be a nice amount of experience going the way of my Steel Balls and Wasps. Neither of them leveling is kind of surprising. Oh, there we go. We do get a Wasp level. And so that's another round win. Of course, it was our Power Spike turn. We get access to our Marksman. Opponent will get his Rhino on round 4. Now, round number 3. Improved Firepower Control System shows up. I do decide to pick it. I go range on my Arclights. And then we're going to use that improved Firepower on our Wasps for now. Opponent picks up a Mustang. Very logical choice against the Wasp. And a great unit to put an improved Firepower on. And we're just going to go for more Arclights for now. I felt like I could use more Arclights against the Hounds, and I mean, I kind of thought my opponent might go Mustang here, or is kind of forced to do so against the Wasp. So having some Arclights to kind of start farming his Mustang is not a bad idea. Also going to put a missile on the flank in case he tries to put an air unit there. And notice that I'm putting my Arclights a bit further back here than my main Arclights. The main reason is people will often kind of play in this U-shaped formation, meaning that the units in front of the tower are going to be targeted earlier, or going to be entering the fight earlier, whereas the units that are kind of all the way in the back flanks are going to be arriving late. And I want to try to match that with my own Arclights, so that they arrive in the fight at kind of the same time, and they don't like accidentally get sniped by my opponent's units. It also kind of coincides better with the chaff, right? Because my Arclights in front of the tower have crawlers right behind them, but the Arclights on the flanks will often have crawlers that are starting all the way in the back. Looks like we're going to have another good round though, and the Wasps even survived because it seems like the Mustangs died. That's kind of the annoying bit about Mustang. You will often need to take range on them for them to do anything. And so round 3 will be once more ours to take, as we're really starting to have a comfortable early game here. We've got our Arclights set up, managing to get some levels. The steel balls are annoying. We managed to bait out some Mustangs. Opponent tries to go Hound range, or at least try to last round, but we will get outranged by the Arclights. And now we know my opponent has a Rhino available. He picks up the port shield. We do the same. And we're going to put a steel ball on the right side. The reason for this is I already have 2 steel balls on the left, so it's very unlikely that he's going to try and run a Rhino in there. But if he decides to keep it, then he's going to try and pressure my right side tower, so it makes sense to add a steel ball there to try and preempt that from happening. I'm going to pick up another marksman as well. Opponent's kind of shuffling around that Rhino, unsure where to put it. And I'm going to sell out of my Wasp, which means that we still have this improved firepower floating. I don't really have a great target for it right now. Could maybe throw it on top of an Arclight, but don't really have like the best units for it, so maybe we just float it. And Rhino going to be on the front line, so very happy about my steel ball positioning there. Looks like the crawlers might intercept it too, so that means the steel balls get more uptime. And we will just be able to comfortably take that down. Super good round, because that was his power spike turn, and he also put an item on that Rhino, so the fact that it dies instantly gives us a massive edge, I would say. Steel ball's left side, getting stuck a little bit. Might use some more Arclights here. And when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, I might just play for carry Arclights, because my opponent has Hounds, he has Mustangs, of course he has some chaff mixed in there as well. Might not be a bad idea to work towards triple Arclight and then maybe an elite marksman or so. And yeah, keep in mind I am starting to get some levels here too, so Arclight just seems like the safest option as we work our way towards a unit drop. Round number 5, Efficient Light shows up. Mathis might does pick it. I'm going to decide to do the same thing because, as I said, my plan was going to be to buy more Arclights, so felt like I was going to be in a decent spot. I mean, we won all the early rounds, so the game shouldn't end anytime soon. Gotta pick up triple Arclight here. Opponent goes for double Scorpion, sells out of his Rhino and transitions the item on top of the Scorpion. I'm not too unhappy about this though. I think Arclight carry is actually really good into Scorpions. Unless they go siege mode, then they will get outranged. But if they only go range and something like acid or double shot, then Arclights can often outrange, and then you can go EMP to really cripple the Scorpions. Still have this guy floating around. Not really knowing what to do with that. Looks like that's gonna be about it. Not sure what I was thinking about. Maybe thinking about selling something, but gonna end up not doing so. And let's see, how does this shake out? I do have the steel ball with the port shield, so that's gonna take at least 2 shots to take down some of the steel balls. And yeah, as you can see, not all of them will get splashed, so we will be able to get through, take down that scorpion. Looks like the other one is relatively safe though, and my arc knights are going to start to shoot it together. And while their DPS is not too bad, ooh, level 4 marksman chips in, that's going to be much easier to take that down. Now the arc knights are just kind of farming, and well, as they're farming, they're going to pick up more levels, which is going to make it even more tempting to click that elite marksman button. And, well, that was somewhat of a, like, surprise turn for my opponent, trying to buy scorpions. I wasn't expecting it, but we managed to win. Now, round number 6, we have Wraith, Typhoon, Sabertooth, and Raiden offered. Decided to pick up the Saber here, as I feel like it's just really hard to kill, right? Level 6 on round 6, 107,000 hit points. My opponent has Acid, then maybe he might be able to kill it, but I don't expect him to click that anytime soon. And so this should just give us another, like, good round to try and inch out an advantage. Going to pick up the second defense enhancement. Really good on crawlers, especially against the hounds. And, well, really good on the arc lights and the sabers as well. Steel Ball's even going to be able to tank a shot here, even without the shield, against the level 1 Scorpion, so that's notable. We're going to sell out of one of our level 2 Steel Balls, because I do want to transition out of them at some point. I don't want to give him too much food for the Scorpions. And Elite Marksman has now been picked up, so I really like my setup here. Feel like we were in a super good spot. Opponent picks up range on the Scorpions and goes triple blue Mustang with range. Very happy that I did pick up that Elite Marksman, because there's a break point between same level Arclight and Mustang, where if the opponent has defense enhancement, then you will take 2 shots to kill Mustangs of equal level. But, of course, if you have Elite Marksman, then you suddenly have that bonus attack, and then it'll be no longer the case. And that is significant, because it means you only need 1 shot to kill Mustang instead of 2. Yeah, as you will see here, Mustang's gonna go down as soon as an Arclight shoots at them. And that means that we have a lot more time to lock onto the other important targets, like those Scorpions. Looks like left side is struggling a little bit, though. Right side is doing fine, but as Scorpion there, doing a great job. Level 3 Arclight, by the way, able to tank a shot from the level 1 Scorpion. I gave that level 3 Arclight the improved firepower, by the way, as I didn't really have another good target for it. And looks like we are going to win another round. Only a small victory, but Sabertooth prevails alongside the backline of carry Arclights. Now, round number 7, improved War Factory shows up alongside some red spells. I was a little bit wary of Factory eventually being an option. I mean, my board is not that high DPS, so that always means that the Ground Titan is something you have to be a bit careful about. But I'm full health, so if it shows up now and I lose a round, I will still have plenty of time to respond to it. Gonna go for the EMP instead. Pretty cheap spell and covers a very large area of the map. Not going to be easy for him to protect both the Scorpions and the Mustangs. They're quite far away from one another. Gonna go for some shields as well, because I don't want to get EMP'd myself. And, well, the opponent did go for it. Then we're gonna use some oil too to try and slow down the left side, because currently, even though I started asymmetrically, I have a much more symmetrical board than he does. He's way more invested on the left side. Underground Crawler also going to get picked up. He goes for loose formation. Decided to go underground here because, again, His chaff clear is mostly coming from Hounds and Mustang, and they can struggle a lot against Crawlers. And we also have the second defense enhancement. We even take the second attack enhancement here too. Just stacking stats is often a really good thing to do if you've got some money to spare and you're playing these like smaller unit comps. You'll be surprised at how effective it is. Now, as soon as I see loose formation Crawler here, I know, okay, I will have to buy some Mustangs of my own. It seems like we're doing just fine with the Arclights kind of farming away. Scorpion's still very tanky though. We'll take down my tower. Arclights, not too bad, that DPS, but oof. Yeah, level 2 Scorpion with the 15-meter splash. Going to take down 2 of my Arclights in one shot. Arclight going to start shooting at this Scorpion here from downtown, but the Scorpion sadly turns. We'll take down my Arclight. But as the Saber moves close, it should take over the tanking role. And we should be able to win if it's only a small victory once more. We take the shield down. Very happy about that. And the Saber even manages to live. Now, round number 8. Nothing really here looks that interesting. I could go Vulcan, I guess. But I felt like Mustangs would be better in general. And I kind of wanted to add more tankiness to my board. But like the Vulcans here, we're just going to get outranged and like insta-locked by the high-level Scorpions and die. So I wanted to build some Mustangs because it protects me against things like Wasp as well, and I think it just does a better job overall providing value to my board. Having more smaller units on the board that can function as chaff in the late rounds. And then I also get a level 2 Sandworm here that can run into his tower. Decide to shield because he might try to oil and Fire Badger me or try to connect with my oil. Seems like he will try to do that. Picks up the Fire Badger. We'll try to set that on fire. And, well, looks like he won't quite be able to defend against it. Acid now also being picked up on the Scorpion. So that'll help a lot against that Sabertooth on the right side and my Sandworm that I just picked up. AP, the move as well on those Mustang. And the nice thing that he's got going on here is, even though his board isn't really that great into the Crawlers individually, the Mustangs aren't, but if Acid is involved, then suddenly he'll be able to stack that 250% damage against my Crawlers and probably allow him to chaff clear, even though my Crawlers are exceptionally tanky, right? With that underground and the defense enhancement. So as you can see, I ran out of Crawlers, part of them did burn, and my Saber and my Sandworm simply vanish. And so now I'm thinking, okay, it might be time for a third tech on the Arclights. We might need to grab some EMP, turn off that acid tech, and annoy those Scorpions. Looks like we might even win. Arclight is doing whatever it can. Level 4, 168 meter range. We'll take down the Scorpion. Can it win against the Stormcallers? We'll have to see. Takes out 1, takes out 2, 3 and 4. Will win, but it's only 100 damage. Round number 9. More big red spells showing up. Lightning Storm offered. And we're kind of forced to pick this. Yeah, we will go for it. Nano Repair would have been nice on top of a Sandworm, but not when I'm into the Acid. We're going to sell our Saber, transition the item onto the Worm for now. And then we're going to pick up EMP on our Arclights. And now I'm thinking, well, I could probably use a few more Mustangs, perhaps. That is what we're going to be doing. And then we don't have that much money remaining because that third tech was expensive. So Probably just want to pick up maybe 1 or 2 more arc lights, maybe one in the middle here, maybe one on the right side. Or we could buy some more crawlers, right? Although we already have some all the way on the left and the right side. So it looks like it's going to be just another Mustang. And then maybe an arc light. We do have the temp range. We're loaning, of course. Yep, another arc light going to show up. Just going to put that in the middle. An opponent tries to go for range on the marksman to counter my arc lights. But it doesn't have elite as of yet. It does have it on the bar. But we'll try and slowly start scaling his marksman, I guess, into my arc lights, which is a classic counter. Marksman will outrange the arc lights eventually. I think they already do, by the way. 180 against 173, and that's a level 5 arc light. Worm trying its very best. Will actually burrow. And probably be able to take down one of these scorpions. Never mind, I think the Mustangs and arc lights already took it down. And EMP working wonders from the looks of things, as the left side is just absolutely crushing those high-level scorpions. Yeah, the arc-light damage can get out of control when you have something like Elite Marksman to scale the damage, but even though we win a round and we keep all of our shields, we only have small units, so we're gonna need yet another round here to win things. Round number 10. Rhino Assault shows up. I'm not sure that's worth picking. I think both of us decide to skip. It's not going to amount to anything here. Our boards are way too solid. And there's no debuff in sight. So now I'm thinking, okay, I think my board is really solid. And I'm probably going to win. And I felt like the only thing I could lose to was some type of Titan cheese. And I was worried I might get factoried. Like level 2 factory with photon or armor, and then he runs it into my tower. That was what I was afraid of. So, in order to try and play around that, I believe I go for Melter, as it also preempts things like Abyss, for instance. The other play I had in mind was to go for Abyss myself, because while the opponent does have Marksman, the missiles on Abyss can be really annoying and can kill a bunch of the Mustangs, and then maybe even get a tower debuff. But we end up going for triple Melter instead, as I felt like that was the safer option. We sell our Sandworm, and then we have the item to throw on top of a Melter. And now opponent, 1600 resources, thinking about his turn. What will he end up doing? Goes for Siege Mode instead and buys more Scorpions. Now, I was not happy about this because Siege Mode Scorpion at this point is very, very good against Melter. I also picked up Electromagnetic Barrage, by the way, trying to EMP the units even more. But yeah, you can see how long range the Scorpions are. 255. That is almost 100 more than my Melters have. And now I really wish I went for Abyss, because at this point, I don't think my Melters are going to be good enough to take down these Scorpions. I mean, look at how safe they're sitting, right? Maybe we can try and take out the enemy units and still have some chaff left, but that doesn't seem to be the case either, as all of our chaff has simply vanished. While we are EMPing some of the Scorpions, there's just not enough left here to deal with all of them. And we're gonna lose a round pretty handily, taking a ton of damage and losing half of our hit points in one go. So now I'm thinking, alright, well, we wasted a bunch of money on top of the Melters, which didn't do too much. What is our plan B? And plan B, as I said, was the Abyss. And I think it looked fine here still, as the opponent went for those Scorpion techs. And really, I will never be able to skill my Melters, right? I can't beat Siege Mode Scorpion with Melters. So I'm just going to cut my losses. It's annoying that I tech them twice, but I only need to win one round. So let's sell a Melter, transition the item. I did go for Mustang Production, just because I think production items are good, and I have a tech on my Mustang. And then we're going to go double level 1 Abyss, stack them on one side, and go for Swarm Missiles, and hope that this is enough of a Hail Mary to maybe get a tower debuff. These missiles will try and find as many different targets as possible, and they can target the tower, so Maybe the second or third salvo here could try and take down the enemy tower. We're also going to use oil on the left just to slow down the enemy forces, since we're the ones pushing in on the right side. We just need the left side to stall. And opponent now goes for elite on the marksman. So the question is, are those level 3 stangs with AP and amazing items plus the high level marksman going to be enough to stop my abysses? We're also going temp speed here because I'm the one pushing in, clearly. He's the one with the longer range units. How's this going to go? Crawlers seem to do a decent job this time. Getting in a little bit closer than the previous rounds, I feel. And look at those missiles. Doing a great job of softening up those Mustangs. One Abyss is going to fall. The other one gonna be fine. Fires its missiles, takes down the tower. That allows my left side board to get in and start applying EMP to those Scorpions. Still have some Mustangs left, Melters and Arclights as well. And as my opponent runs out of anti-air, that should just be enough. We needed a bit more than just the Abyss to live, but that is going to be the case. And so we close out the round and the game on round 11. Very long game there. Playing a bunch of small units tends to always go a bit longer and scary on round 10, I would say. I tried to play against something like a factory play. You go siege mode instead. And then luckily we have another round and another plan to try out. Close game though. I feel like Marksman eventually could have gotten there, but lucky for us, we stack and we get the debuff. And yeah, that was it. Another tournament victory. We've been doing pretty well in the EU minis and Asia minis in the past weeks. So I'm happy with that. I hope that you liked this. If you did, please leave a thumbs up and let me know down in the comments below what you thought of these games. Did you learn anything? Were the flank defense games helpful? Let me know. If you want to stay up to date with latest content, please consider subscribing. And if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.